Let's dive on in. So today we're going to be talking about First Chronicles. Well, I know a lot of us are wondering, why do we even have First and Second Chronicles if we already have a historical account of all the different nations in Second Samuel and First and Second Kings? Well, just like in the New Testament with the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, which each one kind of talks about a different perspective of Jesus' life, now we also have the same thing with First and Second Chronicles, talking about a different perspective of the nation of Israel. This gives readers a different perspective, just like in the New Testament did. So the books of 2 Samuel and 1st and 2nd Kings kind of more so talks about the monarchies and the sins of the nations that resulted in that exile, whereas the 1st and 2nd Chronicles, more so written after the time of exile, they focus more on the elements of history that God wanted the returning Jews to meditate upon, obedience that results in God's blessings, the priority of the temple and priesthood, and the unconditional praises to the house of David. So the prayers of David in First Chronicles summarizes the themes the chronicler wished to communicate. The chronicler is just the person writing First and Second Chronicles. These themes were glory to God, gratitude for giving David's family with leadership of the nation, and the desire that David's descendants continue to devote themselves to God. Remaining faithful to God would reap blessings. When the book was written, David's descendants were not leaders of Israel at this time. It was more so under a monarchy system. However, the chronicler, or the person writing this, wanted you to remember David's royal lineage and how that one day they would be called to rule and reign. For God had promised that they would rise from that line of David. After the 70-year exile in Babylon, Jewish political and social powers resided more with the religious rather than the political leaders. This is telling Israel's history through a priestly and kingly lens that are intended to prepare the people for the coming of the Messiah. That's kind of an idea of First Chronicles. On today's Animal Spotlight, we're going to be talking about the woodpecker. So, there are so many different types of woodpeckers. However, I'm going to be talking about the red-bellied woodpecker because that's just happened to be the one I got footage of. They are very common in Florida. They are year-round residents. The females have a gray crown, and the juveniles lack head markings at all. They're uniformly gray. They're woodland species, inhabitants of all forest types in the eastern United States. They nest in holes excavated by the adults, so they dig a hole in the tree. They're typically 4 to 5 eggs are laid. Most of them are in dead trees, but some may use live trees. It just depends. They feed on all different types of animals that live in the tree as well. They also feed on seeds, nuts, fruits, and berries. Now, these actually will show up at your bird feeder if you're lucky. They typically stay on trees, but every now and then you'll catch one out there. So hopefully you learned a little bit of something about the red-bellied woodpecker. For our financial segment today, we're going to be talking about something I encourage each and every single person on the face of the earth to consider: life insurance. Life insurance is basically a contract between an insurance company and a person. You set an amount per year that you want to pay, or per monthly, and you kind of pay that a designated person will get money once you die. So you basically say, hey, I want to pay for this kind of policy, and whenever I die, the money will go to this beneficiary. Typically, it's like children or a spouse or something like that, but again, it's really good, especially if you're wanting to build the generational wealth term that you keep hearing. Life insurance is the way to go about that. Life insurances are really good in helping you cover funeral costs or any kind of expense that occurs after death. They'll just kind of take it out of that account, and then the rest of the money will go to whoever was that person's beneficiary. Now, if you are setting up a life insurance policy, it's vital that you allow or you put someone on there that's going to be the beneficiary or the person receiving the money once you die. Now, there are different types of life insurance, most commonly term and whole life. I'm not going to get into the details about the two different types because I'm not a financial expert. However, just know that typically you really only can use it once you pass, so it's not going to be much of a benefit to you. You can use them. Don't get me wrong. You can cash out of these again, but I can't explain it because I don't know it very well, but just know life insurance policies, find a financial advisor that knows them, and get you one today. Today on the History Spotlight, we're going to be talking about the Louisiana Purchase. Purchased by the U.S. from the French in 1803, this piece of land stretched from the Mississippi River in the east to the Rocky Mountains in the west, the Gulf of Mexico in the south to the Canadian border in the north. The land was bought for less than 3 cents an acre. Can you imagine those prices? I would have bought the entire U.S. at that time. This was considered one of the most important achievements during the presidency of Thomas Jefferson. Soon after the land was purchased, the president commissioned the Lewis and Clark expedition to explore the land. And 9 years after the transaction, the 18th state was admitted into the Union, Louisiana. Today's inspiring quote is, "All dreams are within reach. All you have to do is keep moving for them." Hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you learned something. See you back here tomorrow.